Okay, well, let's get into our question type for today, which is sentence and form completion. Now, the first thing I'd like to start with is to describe how this type of question is written. All right, how does the test writer, like me, how do we write this question type? All right, I can give you a little training in case you want to be a test writer someday. No, actually, understanding it the way it's written should really help you understand how to take the test as well, okay? So let's explore the process here. There are three choices for the test writer, okay? We can go, and this is the easiest, straight up, no tricks, okay? There's no traps, no difficult spellings, no difficult numbers or anything. All right, you just have to listen closely and listen for the 1-word or 2-word or 3-word phrase or a number. Okay? You often get this type in forms, not so much in sentences. Okay? Sentences are usually a little harder, but in a form, like in section 1, you get a lot of just straight up fill in the blank completion questions. Okay? If a writer puts too many tricks in section 1, it's too difficult. Section 1 should be fairly easy. Okay? But in section 2, section 3, you start to get more the second type where you have to listen for the spelling. Right? Somebody's name, the name of a city, something like that, and they spell it out for you, and you have to listen for that. That's a kind of special skill. It's a little more difficult than the just straight up questions. And then the third type, the one that I enjoy writing the most, is traps. Okay? This is where we lay down a trap for the test taker so that they will choose the wrong answer. I love writing these because it's really tricky. And there are a few devices that we can use to trick you. Okay, so I'll go over what those are. With a sentence and form completion, there's typically only one trap. There's a correct answer and there's a trap. Okay, typically just one. All right, now when we get to multiple choice in lesson 2, you're going to see 2 traps. And that's why multiple choice can be so difficult. Is you've got 1 correct answer and 2 traps. But here, we're just dealing with 1 trap. So this will be a good introduction to traps in general, okay? Because we just have to hear 1. All right, now writing a question with a trap, here's the process. Here's how it works. The writer starts off with a full sentence. Something like this. The speaker wants to live near the beach. Okay? And that could be in like a form, or it could be this whole sentence put into the question set. All right. Then the writer takes out a word or 2. In this case, I took out 1 word. The speaker wants to live near the All right. And as a test taker, you're going to imagine it must be a location, right? Near the ocean, near the river, near the suburbs, near the tower. Could be any sort of noun, right? Any sort of location noun. All right. So the next step is for the writer to think of another possible answer as a trap. Okay? And that, in this case, would be city center. Okay? So notice beach is the correct answer. City center is our trap. Okay? Now the trap can come before or after the answer. That's what makes traps difficult. You have to listen to both and listen for the trap either at the beginning or at the end. All right? So, here's an example. Well, in the dialogue or in the lecture, the writer is going to create a natural context so that both words, the answer and the trap, can be mentioned in the script, okay, in the dialogue or in the lecture. Okay, so that as a test taker, you hear both. Okay, and that's a real test of your ability to listen for the meaning, is to pick out which one is correct. All right, so here's an example of a trap before the answer. Read that with me. So the man asks, "Where would you like the apartment to be located?" The woman answers, "Well, most of our friends live near the city center, but ideally we would like to be situated close to the beach." Okay, so notice, near the city center is mentioned, and close to the beach is mentioned. Okay, and you can see the word in the middle there, the word but. Okay, that's where everything rotates around. Okay, most of our friends live here, but we would like to be near the beach. Okay, so we set up the trap first, and then we give the full answer here. Okay, so a really eager test taker is going to write down city center because they hear live near the city center. Right? Just like our answer, right? Live near the city center, right? So you have to be patient as a test taker and listen for this but, and then listen for the meaning. Which of these meanings is best? The speaker wants to live near the beach in this case. All right. Now let's look for a trap after the answer. Again, the man asks, "Where would you like the apartment to be located?" And the woman answers, "Well, our ideal location is adjacent to the beach. However, we're open to other options as long as we can avoid living near the city center." So again, we have a kind of contrasting word, and we have to decide which of these, this part or this part, which of them matches the idea the speaker wants to live near the something. Okay, and in this case, the speaker actually wants to avoid living near the city center. They want to live, the ideal location is adjacent to or near the beach, next to the beach. Okay? So one thing you may have noticed here was in this example, near the city center. Near the city center. And that matches perfectly with the answer, near the city center. Okay? And that's not by accident. Okay? So normally the trap is less paraphrased. Live near the beach, that's the answer. Living near the city center. Okay, that's our trap. And then what is the real answer? Situated within walking distance, I spelled distance wrong, but within walking distance of the beach. Okay? Or adjacent to the beach. Or situated close to the beach. All right? So what we're doing is basically the basic sort of strategy, if you're a low-level student, is to notice the near the blah, right? And so we know that a low-level student is going to be listening for near the blah and just fill in that blank, right? They're not really listening for the meaning, okay? So we want those students to get this answer wrong, okay? We want to reward the students who can actually listen for the meaning and see which one of these answers is correct. Okay, that's a higher level skill. And this question with a trap, it's going to reward the higher level student with a correct answer, and it's going to punish the student with a very basic strategy. Okay? So a big part of success in this question type and in the entire IELTS listening is just to get a lot of practice with traps. You need to see a lot of traps and understand how they work. There's a lot of different ways to introduce a trap. Okay? In section 1, it's typically going to be a simple paraphrase trap, right? Or it'll be something really obviously negative, right? Like with this but here. Most of our friends want to live near the city center, but we would like to live near the beach. I think that's a pretty obvious trap. Okay? That's definitely a section 1 trap. Fairly easy. Okay? Or in this one, avoid living near the city center. That's a pretty obvious one to hear. Okay? It doesn't take a lot of explanation. It should be pretty clear right away when you hear it. Okay? So that's a section 1 example. But we're going to see later, section 2, section 3, section 4, the paraphrasing on these traps can get really complex. Okay? These negative words like avoid, they're not going to use those. Okay? The test writer is going to paraphrase the trap in a much more complex and difficult way to hear. Okay? In fact, the paraphrasing might even get longer. You might have paraphrasing that goes across several lines of dialogue. Okay? It can get really complicated, and we'll look at examples of that. All right? But the key for traps is to see lots of examples. Okay? There's just hundreds of different ways to do it. Okay?